Welcome to the Western Leather Holster Build Series, Episode 3. Today I'm going to show you how to cut out your holster and where in the hide to lay it out. The tools that we're going to need today are the pattern that we made in our previous video, a number 2 pencil. I like to use just a standard number 2 pencil. Not too sharp. You don't want it super sharp. You want to have it just slightly dull. Then we're going to need a knife. Okay, maybe not this knife. How about our folding utility knife instead? And a cutting board. We're going to be using 7 to 8 ounce Hermann Oak leather for the main body of the holster, and 4 to 5 ounce Hermann Oak veg tan leather for the lining of the holster. If you're going to do the optional steel lining that I'm putting in this holster, I'm using a 28 gauge galvanized roofing tin. I don't recommend doing this if you're just starting out. It adds a lot of difficulty to making the holster. But I'm trying to make a fast draw rig similar to Clint Eastwood's. So I'm putting the steel in there. If you're going to do that, you're going to need a tin snips and a set of gloves, because that roofing tin will cut you up. Alright, with all that being said, let's get into cutting this out. So my table isn't big enough to lay a full side out on. What you see here is what they call a side of leather. This is my 7 to 8 ounce that I'm going to use for the main body of the holster. This is the back, this would be the rump of the cow, and this would be the belly. And this is scout. The neck is also a good thick portion, but it is more flexible than the back and the rump. Alright, boy, come on. Sit. Oh boy. Alright, and so I like to use back and rump. You can use to about here before it starts getting soft in the belly. You don't want to use come on, boy. You don't want to use really past here. You can feel it in the leather. It starts getting spongy, and it doesn't make a good holster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough cut this out, and then I'm going to move back to the bench and fine cut it out. So we're back up on the bench, and I've got this rough cut out. You want to take and hold the pattern down, or you might want to use some masking tape and tape it in place. Then just take your number 2 pencil and trace this pattern out. You don't want to press real hard, but you want to leave a mark. Now I like using a number 2 pencil because it's what a saddle maker that I worked with for a little while taught me to do. He said you can use other things, but when you make a mistake, and not if, when you make a mistake, it's a lot easier to remove the slight mark that a number 2 pencil makes than a scratch from a scratch awl or a scribe or something like that. So you can see I'm just simply tracing the paper pattern. Now it's important that you get the pattern oriented on the leather correctly. If you put it upside down, you will get a left-handed holster instead of a right-handed holster. Because when we take this and fold it, it makes our holster. So if you put it upside down, obviously you'll get the wrong direction of holster. I got that traced out. Now I've already cut out this. This is my lining leather, and that you want for the left-handed holster. And I just rough cut this out, and it's going to stay that way until we build the holster. So I'm just going to set the lining lever aside, and we won't see that again until we're building the holster. Now I like to use a utility knife. You can use whatever knife you want, but I've got a utility knife with a sharp blade, and I just pick a spot and start cutting through. Cut a little bit. You don't need to cut all the way through with the first pass. You can come back and take another pass. Alright, we're almost done cutting this out. And I just wanted you to be able to see me and how I do this. Take a couple of passes. You want to follow your lines exactly. Your pattern, if you made it properly, is set to fit your gun well. So if you slip and you cut way off your line, your holster is not going to turn out right. This is a step that you want to take your time on, because ruining this step can ruin the entire holster, will ruin the entire holster. And that would mean cutting out a new one and wasting this large chunk of leather. And this stuff is not cheap, especially the Hermann Oak like I'm using here. There you go. That's all there is to that. Now we've taken our pattern and we've cut it out into our leather holster. Also, off camera, I cut out my steel lining. I just went about 3/8 of an inch smaller than my holster pattern and cut it out with my tin snips. Now, the next thing I'm going to be doing is a tooling on this holster. I'm going to be doing a very elaborate tool, and I'm going to do most of that off camera. If you want to see more about the tooling, I might do a future series on that, or if there's a lot of comments on this video, maybe I'll do tooling in the next video on the holster build series. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying this series, make sure and subscribe so you see the following ones. And if you haven't seen the previous ones, make sure and go back and watch those, where I talk about the tools and the materials and where to get what I'm using. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.